comments and suggestions from the Griswold community. Citizens who wish to speak at a Board of Ed meeting may do so under the hearings and requests and public comment sections of the board agenda. Please note that the Griswold Board of Education meetings shall be conducted by the chairperson in a manner consistent with the adopted policies and bylaws of the board. According to policy 1120, citizens who wish to speak will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes and in a manner that is observed with common rules of etiquette. Citizens who wish to speak will be recognized by the board chair and will be asked to state their name and address. Public comment is an opportunity to bring concerns to the attention of the board, but is not an appropriate time for the board to respond. The board may choose to direct the superintendent to follow up in a manner that is appropriate. The chairperson may change the time allowed for speakers to permit all of individuals and groups to address the board. This is bylaw 9325. Tonight, I will set the public comments to a 3-minute, I will allow. Is there anybody?
I'm sorry, Madam Chairperson, I did put a note in the chat for people online if they'd like to comment. This is the opportunity to do so.
Do we have any? Okay, you can come up and please state your name and address for the record.
Can I move over here so I can videotape her? Is that allowed? Yes? Okay.
My name is Katie Grain, and I live at 31 Richardson Hill Road, Griswold. We live in Connecticut, the Constitution state. We're allowing it to be disregarded for a medical emergency. I ask any of you here this evening to show me the section of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights that says our freedoms and liberties may be prohibited during an emergency or health crisis. It's not in there, so I'm not sure why we're acting as though it is. Those of you teaching our children should not only acknowledge this fact, you should be teaching this fact to our children. They should know that this is a direct violation of their rights as American citizens. Instead, you're teaching them to relinquish even the most basic freedoms like breathing and to comply with unconstitutional orders for the sole purpose of making others feel safe. They need to be taught that the establishment of government was meant to protect our rights and our freedoms and not to confiscate them. As elected officials, you're an extension of said government, making your responsibility for imposing these orders on our children and forcing them to comply. At no point in history have people who have censored, controlled information, or forced others into compliance been the ones on the right side of history. You're not only turning a blind eye to it, you're responsible for forcing this on our children. I would like you to take a minute and reflect on your actions, compliance, and the unconstitutionality of what you're enforcing on our children and the damage it's doing to them. Remember in the Nuremberg trials, the excuse, "I was just following orders," was not considered to be justified. Are you ready to be held accountable? Please don't say we're following science. Coercion, fear-mongering, obscuring data, and manipulating data is not science. Reading a box of surgical masks that says they will not protect your children from COVID-19 and then pretending they will and forcing them to wear them for that purpose is not science. 4.2 million children have tested positive for COVID. Only 0.008 of them have died. The percentage of children who died from the flu is drastically higher, but they were never mandated to wear masks for that. They also have a higher risk of dying riding the bus to school, but we don't wrap them in bubble wrap every day because, let's face it, that would be insanity. Forcing children to breathe their own CO2, dirt, bacteria, and germs trapped in their face for 7 to 8 hours a day is not sanitary. Honestly, it's abusive. Most people that died during the Spanish flu died from pneumonia or bacterial infections due to the dirty masks. You're masking them for a virus with a 0.008 mortality rate and exposing them to potentially something more dangerous. We don't know the long-term consequences of these prolonged mask-wearing periods for our children. We do know some of the side effects, which are fatigue, headache, depression, stress, anxiety, lower cognitive development, brain fog, and suicide. To the argument that surgeons wear these masks for hours a day, that's true. However, they're doing it of their own free will and they're in temperature-controlled, sterile environments wearing them. They're also trained extensively not to touch their face or their masks. Children are being forced to wear them in unregulated temperatures and environments, and they don't have the same self-control. Take the mask off the doctor after 8 hours and the mask off a child after 8 hours of school and compare the contamination level. There will be no comparison. Schools and government shouldn't be allowed to dictate how I raise my children or how I make healthcare decisions for them. That's between myself, my child, and their healthcare professionals. As educators,
because